Donald Trump is starting to sweat from what he's seeing in the polls, but I want to be clear, it's not necessarily about Joe Biden. No, he appears to have noticed that RFK Jr. is still running, still making waves in the polls, and not necessarily the sorts of waves that Donald Trump and the MAGA world were hoping that he would. I want to take you back to 11:30 p.m. last night when Donald Trump bleated this about RFK Jr., saying, "Why did Junior's family," he just calls him Junior now. I guess that's insulting. I don't know. "So bonkers at the thought of him running against crooked Joe Biden because they are radical left lunatics and they can't conceive of their even more liberal brother running as anything else. MAGA 2024. Don't waste your vote, space, on Kennedy." Okay, so he's very worried about Kennedy because if he actually thought what he's pretending to think here, that RFK Jr. is more left than other members of the Kennedy family, more left than Joe Biden, then it stands to reason that he would draw votes from people who are more left than Joe Biden. He would draw away from Joe Biden. So then why would he be tweeting about it? Don't waste your vote on Kennedy. Well, he's not telling the Dems to not vote for Kennedy. He is apparently worried that his attempt to brand RFK Jr. as some sort of mega progressive or whatever has not been going the way that he wanted.
Hey, I'm glad you're here. Listen, in order for the Damage Report to keep on going, we need viewers like you to become a member on YouTube. Can you click the join button on YouTube today? Thank you.
And there's other posts like this. He's been doing this for days now. RFK Jr. is a Democrat plant, a radical left liberal who's been put in place in order to help crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of the United States, get capital R reelected. A vote for Jr. would essentially be a wasted protest vote that could swing either way, but would only swing against the Democrats if Republicans do the true story about him. Jr. is totally anti-gun, an extreme environmentalist who makes the Green New scammers look capital C conservative, a big-time taxer, an open border advocate, an anti-military / vet. Well, but if that's what he actually was, if all those stances were true, again, Democrats would be voting for him instead of Joe Biden. But that does not appear to be the case. And Donald Trump appears to be catching wise to that. And I find it so interesting, Francesca, because we've really had multiple phases of this, where the polling comes in and seems to show he's hurting Biden or he's hurting Trump. And then instantly the attempt to reframe him like swings into action. Whereas I would say, obviously I have a dog in this fight, but I am perfectly willing for people to just see RFK Jr. for what he is, what he has said, and what he's campaigning on. Neither of the other sides are comfortable with that. They all want to say who he is. I think he's doing a great job of saying who he is. The issue for Trump is that appeals to right wingers more than to progressives. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think RFK is a really interesting conundrum. And I think especially the relationship between Donald Trump and RFK is something to be worried about. You know, there's a thin line between love and hate when it comes to Trump, right? He hates you if he thinks you're gonna go against him and he can't buy you off and you're not gonna be loyal to him. And he loves you, like JD Vance we talked about earlier, Lindsey Graham, Kellyanne Conway, Ted Cruz, name every single stooge who once railed against him. And I still think that RFK Jr., although he says he wouldn't be Trump's running mate and says that maybe Trump offered him the vice presidential ticket, I think he might. I think he would, because RFK Jr. is not actually registered in many states. And I think that if he sees the writing on the wall, which is that he's not going to be winning this, of course not by a long shot, he might turn. That being said, I think RFK is a very interesting problem for Biden as well and for Trump, right? Obviously the anti-vax, what he is actually capitalizing on is extremely wealthy anti-vax elites like that. And those folks are sort of apolitical, meaning, I mean, crap, our bipartisan duopoly is not all that dissimilar in a lot of ways. These are people who maybe went for Trump in 2016, then went for Biden in 2020.
Yeah.
You know, again, they are the like wine drunk, alpaca clad, suburban women that actually both Donald Trump and Joe Biden really want to get. The difference for me is, of course, as we know, is obviously, are those women comfortable with being effective second-class citizens given the likely total abortion ban that Donald Trump would be laying out there? So we'll see. I mean, do we remember where RFK is on abortion? I believe that he is against it.
I don't remember for sure. I'm
It's
not
crucial.
sure. I wasn't sure what the wine drunk alpaca clad suburbanites were like, and I asked Midjourney to generate image, and that's just an image of Ginny Pirro. But anyway, I'm not sure. Look, I will say this: I think that if he is taking votes, look, partially it's name. He has a name, and then it's like Trump's original sin. It's like the wound that a hero in classic mythology has that never heals. For him, it's that he briefly did one thing right. He told people to take the vaccine, and he never should have done that because that's an inroads. And by the way, don't DM me. I am not saying that RFK Jr. is anti-vax, mostly because I don't want you to DM me. All I'm saying is the anti-vaxxers sure seem to think he's anti-vax. That's all I'm saying. He's not, but they sure seem to think that he is. Anyway, I just want to very quickly let you know, he goes on to say, by the way, I'd even take Biden over Jr. because our country would last a year or two longer prior to collapse. By the way, like, there are a lot of things that Biden hasn't done right, but like all of the stuff they say is a mark of a country that is on the upswing. Biden is doing it better than Trump. We're exporting more oil. I think it's bad, but they think it's great. The stock market is higher than ever was under Donald Trump. I don't think that's reflective of the real economy, but they sure seem to think that it is. So you cannot pitch this as being a country on the verge of collapse, at least not in the way that you see things. I'm worried about the climate apocalypse and everything, but Donald Trump doesn't agree with me on that. And by the way, the polls do seem to show, we'll close with this before we move on, Biden and Trump at the latest Quinnipiac University national poll are tied 46-46. If you throw RFK into the mix, it's still tied, although at a lower number. But if you force the RFK Juniors to choose who they want, then they break 47-29 for Trump. I think, look, I don't know that he would pick him as his VP pick, but I do think it probably would be a wise move for certain states. Those couple of percentage points could be all he needs in like a Michigan or an Arizona or something like that. I mean, it would be utter madness, and I feel like there's like a 50-50 chance we end up with President RFK Jr. in that case because of Donald Trump and his body and everything. But anyway, there's other polls that buttress that body. You know, I'm not an actuarial table or anything,
this
but
beautiful, beautiful slug.
It's not about that. It's just about if we're trying to project lifespan.
No. Look, he'd have to do a 180. Here's the thing. This is the trick. I mean, at this point, we're all just numb. Like, I'm just numb to what's happening right now. But so long as we're numb, the only way that Trump could get RFK back on his ticket is if, well, he'd have to give him a lot more power, I think, in terms of shaping the ticket. And he'd have to do a 180 on Operation Warp Speed or whatever the hell it was.
It was Warp Speed, yeah.
Warp Speed. So we'll see. Do you know what I mean? Trump doesn't change positions for many people. He was even like, I don't know about this anti-woke. I guess everyone's woke. It's just a new word,
Yeah.
So
because he doesn't like it when he's not the person who comes up with the thing everybody's crazy about.
Of course.
Yeah.
Warp Speed. That sounds so cool.
Yeah, and it's a good thing that he came up with funding vaccine development because no other president would have thought of that. When you click the join button and become a tier 2 member, you get access to all of our weekly top 10 lists. What are you waiting for?